Everybody, how are you? Walking Week Wednesday, week 5. Oh my gosh, 5 weeks of being consistent. So that's definitely another great victory. I count each week as a victory and being consistent. And I just have to acknowledge how faithful God has been in these 5 weeks, because I think only the first week did I actually know days ahead of time the things that I was going to share. But these last 4 weeks have all been God. God has truly been so faithful, because I've been up to maybe even yesterday for this week. For yesterday, I had no idea what God was asking me to share. And I just feel like throughout the week, so many things happen in our lives where you're not sure what you want to share, or sometimes you're just so busy that you don't even have time to just absorb and understand everything that's happened in the last week or so to even have something to share. But I'm just so thankful for God's faithfulness, because He always shows up and putting things on my heart that He is asking me to share on what's going on in my life and what He is trying to show me. So I'm just always in awe. I was even considering doing the videos earlier, maybe over the weekend, because right now I do them Wednesday morning, so they're fresh. It's like you're getting the most up-to-date status as it is. And I was considering doing them earlier to give myself more time to just, not stress about it. But I feel like this is when God shows up. He's saying, don't try to just do this on your own, but let Him move in the way that He wants to move, and believe that He's going to show up and be faithful for the videos on Wednesday morning. Sometimes they're done on Tuesdays, so Tuesday or Wednesday morning. So I'm just so in awe of God's faithfulness and His willingness and ability to always show up and meet us whenever we need Him. So that is encouraging in itself to me. So I'm always excited to share these types of things. So just a little bit. So 2 weeks ago, I did a video on how God is stretching my faith. And in that, I'm believing God for another place to live, an apartment, because God is transitioning me and moving me very far. And so I've been believing God for an apartment that has things that I can't really provide for myself. Only God can do it. So it started off, just a little recap, it started off where I was praying very vague prayers. God, I need a place to live. You know the things I need. I know You'll provide. I believe, things like that. But then I felt it on my heart that God was stretching my faith and calling me to ask for specific things and to write down these specific things. Specific things. But I was a little fearful in writing them down, because once you start getting specific with God, it takes you to a whole nother level of faith. And then it leads to a whole nother possibility of maybe just God saying no, or just disappointment and a shaking of the faith. And that kind of is where I felt fearful. So eventually I became obedient and I wrote down the things that God has asked me. And I've been praying over these things. And lately I've been looking for an apartment, and I have not been able to find anything that fits in my price range for the things that God is asking me, that I'm expecting God for. And it's been a little discouraging, because it's like, okay, so maybe I should backtrack a little bit. And I've started to settle. Maybe I don't need this. I probably was a little too needy when asking for this. And then I just started to feel discouraged as I was settling for less and less of what I had originally been believing God for. And I feel like that happens so many times. So many times we allow the natural to set the expectation or the ability of who God is. And God is the supernatural. So that was something that God had to remind me of. Yesterday I was talking to one of my best friends, Jahan, shout out to her. And she reminded me of something that I used to live by, something that I always used to say when people were seeing that I was believing God for something big, and maybe it didn't look like it was likely to happen, but I always said, no plan B. And I feel like I had kind of forgot that along the way, especially in this journey here. So it's just reminding myself, no plan B. I'm believing God for these things, not to settle. And I believe God had me write these things down so I can specifically remember what I'm asking Him for and not forget these things, but look at it and say, okay, God, these are the things that I'm believing, so I won't settle. And so last night I was just in prayer, just God, I'm sorry that I haven't been believing. No plan B. I don't want to settle, God. I truly want to see your fullness brought forth in this, what I'm expecting and believing you for, God. I want my faith to be taken to the next level, because I really don't believe it's about the apartment, but I believe it's about God doing a work in us, and about him, in this situation, taking my faith to a new level. So I really want to walk in this season. I really want to be diligent and faithful to God and believe him that he can do these things. So as I was praying last night, I just said, God, I'm so sorry that I didn't believe. And I kind of started taking things into my own hand, guys, by settling and not fully believing. And I felt God just say to me, write down the things that I have already done for you. And that kind of broke me just in my time with God. It just really humbled me and just brought me to tears, because there's so many things that God has already done, but it's in our lives. But in the midst of just believing God for big things and waiting on God, we tend to forget the things that God has already pulled us out of, or the big things in our lives that God has already done. And it causes us to shake in our faith when we're standing in this new position and waiting for God. So as I began to just write down the things that God has already done in my life, the places that he has shown up that I could have not even asked or imagined, as he has said in his word, it began to change my focus and my perspective, because no longer was my perspective on, okay, God, I'm expecting you for these things. The focus was these things. Whereas I look back on what God has already done, it changes my focus to look at God. Because once you start looking at the things, you start to shake and waver. But when you focus on God's ability and what he's already done and what he is capable of doing, it changes your focus to look back at God. And it really just shows you, it really makes me reignite my faith that God, you're able, you're willing, God. And it was just a very, very humbling time with God last night. And it was also just a very loving time, just to know, God, you've shown up in my life so many times in ways that I could not even count or imagine, things that I probably still can't even think of, God. And I'm so sorry that I'm doubting you or feeling that you might not show up this time. So it was humbling, and I'm just so thankful that God repositioned my focus to look back at him and not look at the circumstance. You know, it reminded me of just the Israelites, right? So when God delivered the Israelites out of Egypt, he did miraculous signs in front of them. Come on, if God only, he did so many things, but if he only split the Red Sea. So just in case, just for a little backup, God was delivering the Israelites out of slavery, out of Pharaoh and Egypt's land. And as he was delivering them out, Moses was leading them. And as he was delivering them out, they came to the Red Sea. The Egyptians are on their tail, and they came to the Red Sea, and God parted the Red Sea for the Israelites to walk through, to escape. And when they all made it through, and then the Egyptians tried to come through to come after the Israelites, then the Red Sea closed and swallowed them up, and they didn't make it, and the Egyptians were defeated. And it just shows, God, you've done these great signs to save the Israelites. You parted a sea, something that could never happen. But yet, once they got over, they began to doubt you and forget the things that you had already done. It reminds me of Numbers 14. The Lord said to Moses, because God was becoming very frustrated with the Israelites and their unbelief. So in 11, he says, how long will these people treat me with contempt? How long will they refuse to believe in me in spite of all the miraculous signs I have performed among them? So that's convicting to me, because God, you've done so many things before me, among me, but yet I'm still doubting or wavering in my faith. So I believe it's just remembering that is a great tool and a great gift that God has given us, the gift of remembering who God is, what he has already done. And that really encourages me and should encourage us to push forward, to believe God for even bigger things that he is looking to do and wants to do in our life. That should be something that really ignites our faith. So let's not forget, as we wait on God, on things that we're believing for, let's not forget that God has never failed us. God has never failed to show up. God has never failed to meet us in every area of our life that we needed him for. So just remember who God is. his ability, his willingness, and what he's already done, and allow that to transfer into what he will do, and believing what he will do and what he has already promised. So that encourages me, and I'm just looking forward to reigniting my faith, repositioning my focus on God and not on the things that I'm asking for, not on the natural, because God is supernatural. So just repositioning our focus, not on things of the world, but truly on God. So I hope that encourages you. I'm so excited about this, and I look forward to sharing more about this journey as God just keeps stretching my faith. And I look forward to the testimony that's coming from it, because I believe God is going to do big things in all of our lives that we can share, as long as we just keep believing and remembering what God has already done. So Walking Week Wednesday, week 5, small victories, good things, believing God already for week 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But I'm excited. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.